When I'm not actually really pleased with how my Google Arts and Culture twin match turned out, I like to answer questions that I get on YouTube, so let's get to it. Hey Sean, not sure if this is the right place to ask, but maybe for your next QA, what do you think of the Lana Del Rey Radiohead thing going on right now? So, if you haven't heard, Lana Del Rey totally ripped off Creep by Radiohead and turned it into one of her own songs, and now she's kind of in trouble with it. And usually it's like, when cases like this come up, it's kind of like, come on, whatever, just let it go. But this is like so obviously like the chord progression to Creep, and even like the delivery of it, everything is so like blatant that it kind of like, well, one, it makes me lose, you know, respect for Lana Del Rey. Two, it almost kind of seems like it's just like beneath Radiohead to even like throw their hat into this fray, but I guess it's more like their lawyers than anything. But I think it's pretty obvious that, because that's such like a signature chord progression that it's kind of like, obviously it played a role in you know, the writing of that song somehow. So I don't know. Again, if it were me, I think a band of that stature, Radiohead, I just wouldn't even just like mess with it, just because, you know, they're so above the fray, or they should be so above the fray, being my favorite band of all time, that it's just kind of sad that it's even like a news story. But, you know, again, it's a pretty obvious ripoff. Sad to see that you have a beautiful Rickenbacker, even you're not even that good at playing bass. Edit. It was a very great lesson there. My favorite thing about the salty comments that come on like the absolute beginner lessons is like for that one, ripping on my bass playing wasn't that good, because I was like, this is how you play a G note over a G chord. And what you can do is you can play like G to D for your very first bass song. So like the best is when it's kind of like a compliment, like, man, you know, I really learned a lot from your lesson. Too bad you just suck and you can only play beginner guitar. When they're there specifically for a beginner guitar video. It's fantastic. Love the rapport you guys have, and yes, Zeppelin is the greatest band ever. What do you think about Jimmy Page's life after Zepp? In my humble opinion, he has not lived up to his legend. What has he done since? Enjoy your stuff, Dave. So yeah, I'm a huge Zeppelin fan, obviously. Any of Page's post stuff, I don't really dig. I tried like the Outrider stuff. I know a few Zeppelin truthers out there who are like, Outrider's actually like the best music like ever written. I'm not really on that boat myself personally. And it is kind of strange that like a dude who is so like just like the greatest riff writer of all time just kind of stopped writing riffs. How do you just stop writing great riffs? I don't really understand. But yeah, I'm not really a huge fan of Jimmy Page's post-Zeppelin stuff. However, I am an enormous fan of Robert Plant's post-Zeppelin stuff. So if you haven't heard Mighty Rearranger, you need to listen to that, because it's so good. It's like, you know, it's maybe, it's obviously not like on par with like the Zeppelin classics, but it sounds like a Zeppelin album. And check out Mighty Rearranger if you haven't heard it. But yeah, huge Jimmy Page fan. It's just kind of weird that he hasn't done anything like his old playing since then. Hey Sean, question for the next video. Do you have a template for a practice session in terms of skills or theory that can be adopted if you've got 3 half-hour practice slots a week, please? Also, do you have a guitar lead, make and model that you prefer? So it wasn't until I made a British friend that I found out guitar cables were actually called guitar leads. But basically the ones that I use are the Planet Waves ones, and they seem to be okay. I've never had one break. Had them for a few years. They're pretty solid. But as far as like a practice session for like a template, I don't personally have a template as far as kind of what I do. I'm so sporadic and my mind is so all over the place. It's kind of like just like work on something until I just like can't do it anymore and then maybe move on. But if you're really interested in like the theory stuff, I definitely think it's all chord building and arpeggiating those chords. So if you have, you know, a few half hours a week that you want to do, maybe just be like, all right, I want to do an A minor 7 type deal. Find any root note and be like, okay, here's A minor 7. How can I kind of get the notes from there into some kind of lead thing? And that would be like a 1, flat 3, 5, flat 7, and then kind of repeat it. So I definitely think any kind of practice that you can do that will help you visualize the fretboard as you're practicing. And I think that's why those kind of chord building arpeggio type deals are something that really helped me out, and something that I noticed I was getting better at very quickly, that I could kind of, you know, play quickly as I was doing it, is a good thing to do. So Again, I'm a huge fan of chords, scales, arpeggios. So if you want to get into theory, really work on those chord voicings. Find out which notes are in there, because sometimes like a major or a minor 7 voicing, you know, you might have something like this, which is really just a root, the flat 7, and like the 3rd. So you might be like leaving out like a 5th. Being able to understand what you're leaving out and what you're adding and kind of how that sounds is really, really important. And I think it's going to make your playing a lot better. Sean, do you play or even own a cajon? I bought a really nice one, De Gregorio, about a year ago, and hardly ever play it. Maybe a quick lesson sometime. So I don't have a cajon. If you don't know what a cajon is, it's one of those wooden boxes that you kind of like sit on and play underneath. One of the reasons that I don't have it is because it is impossible to look really cool while playing a cajon. So sadly, don't have one, don't have a lot of experience with it, but they do have a pretty cool sound. And my buddy Brian Spainhauer plays with a cajon player in town, and I got to get him on the channel because he's like an absolute filthy, nasty guitar player. So there might be some cajon action on this channel soon. Probably not for me though. If I remember correctly, you listen to podcasts. If that's true, can you recommend something, any genre, even if it's not music related? Yeah, so I don't really listen to a lot of music-related podcasts anymore. I used to listen to All Songs Considered off NPR. I just kind of ran out of time, and I have my core podcasts that I listen to, which are mostly like sports ones. Low Post, absolutely love that. Zach Lowe, my guy. I listen to a lot of the Bill Simmons podcasts. Sometimes Jalen and Jacoby. Star Talk with Neil deGrasse Tyson is a fantastic podcast that you have to listen to if you're at all interested in science stuff. So the only music one that I regularly listen to is probably Song Exploder, which is really cool. Definitely check out Song Exploder because they have a lot of different varieties, genres of bands, and what they do is they take like a song from, you know, a somewhat well-known artist most of the time, and they kind of go behind it and talk about like the making of it, and you'll get to hear samples of like the raw track first. And yeah, Song Exploder is a really cool thing that really kind of opened my eyes to different techniques and stuff. So musically, that's definitely something that I recommend. I kind of feel that there's a lack of good music podcasts out there. I remember Sound Opinions is another one that I listen to kind of on occasion. But that's pretty much it. Oh, and sometimes I'll listen to The Nerdist with Chris Hardwick. He's got some cool interviews on there sometime. But that's pretty much that's my podcast lineup. So for listening homework this week, I'm going to throw you to a band called Destroyer, which is kind of like a love it or leave it band. Some people really, really love this band. Other people can't stand them. I think they've got some really cool tracks. Painter in Your Pocket is my personal favorite, which I'm going to link you to. But yeah, very poetic frontman. Signature sound that sometimes is a little precious, but sometimes really works. And hope you like it. Anyways, let me know what you think. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, hit me up in the comment section, Instagram, Twitter, or the website. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks.